Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a moment to say something really important. In the latest episode of The Hodcast, we had the absolute privilege of sitting down with the brilliant Miriam Chalkley. It was an honest, powerful, and deeply inspiring conversation, the kind that makes you stop and think, but unfortunately, we've had a technical failure. The front facing camera file, the main shot we use for the full video experience, has unfortunately been corrupted. Despite our best efforts to recover it, it's not usable. I can't tell you how gutted I am, both for you as the audience and for Miriam, who gave so much of herself in that interview. She deserved to have it shown in all of its glory. The good news is that the audio and the other two cameras are intact. So what I'm going to do is show you the wide camera on this full episode. I'm going to try and piece it together as best as we possibly can. But I just wanted to be upfront and take full responsibility. Miriam, thank you again for your time, your honesty, and your voice. We're still going to do everything we can to make sure people hear your story because it's one that really, really matters. To all of you tuning in, thanks for sticking with us. These are the conversations worth having, even if the tech doesn't play ball. Let's get into it. Miriam.
Hello.
Before we get to the work you do today, let's go back. I want to know everything. I want to know what shaped you, what kind of kid you were, and what kind of place did you grow up in?
What kind of kid was I? My mum and dad might say different. But no, okay. So I came over to England just before my second birthday from Uganda. I recently found out that we were refugees. So there was a lot of really, really bad stuff going on in Uganda at the time. So my dad came over and sent for me and my mum. So we came over to the UK. So what sort of kid was I? I was shy. I was introverted. Mum and dad would probably say I was very, very chatty. Chatty patty. But yeah, I was really shy, introverted, very insecure, very, very insecure. But I love to dance. So I started ballet. Mum and dad worked really, really hard for me to do ballet classes, and then I started disco dancing and just kind of found my passion through the arts. And then when I was about 16, I discovered that I could sing. So, I did a lot of singing in church. Formed a gospel band with my really, really good friends and toured that for about a year and a bit. And then, that was me. It was just arts. Was not good at Pythagoras theory, not good at maths, not good at any of that kind of, the educational side. So arts was very much my outlet, and I didn't know where I was going to end up, but I just wanted to be in the Lion King or something, and just sing, dance, and act a bit.
That's cool. And you came to the UK when you were 2, or just before your second birthday.
Yeah.
Where did you come to in the UK?
Okay, so we first moved into London. So we lived in Elephant and Castle, and it was only when my dad got a job. He was working in a plastic factory back in Elephant and Castle, and then the jobs came up in Basildon. So Basildon was a new town back then, and we got moved to Basildon, and I've been here ever since. So since maybe from when I was about 3 years old.
Oh wow.
I lived here in Basildon, and that's been my life. So I'm a Basildon girl. Basildon girl.
Love that. What did you when you first got to Basildon? Obviously, it's going to sound daft, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously different to Uganda. Do you have memories of your life before that? Before you got here?
No.
I don't have any memories from before I was 2 years old. So
yeah.
I get that, and in some ways, I guess that's good because if you've come as a refugee, there was obviously things happening there that probably were unsavoury.
No, so I don't have any memories. I've been back to Uganda since, so I went as a young child, but I don't actually have any memories before that. So my memories of being young are primary school. So making friends and stuff like that. But primary school was harder than... You, primary school's hard because very quickly you found out that you were different to everyone else. And I just wanted blonde hair and blue eyes. I wanted really, really long blonde hair and blue eyes. And my mum picked me up from school one day and I don't remember this. I don't remember this conversation. And she kind of, now I think back on it, but mum said to me, I remember when I picked you up from school and you was 5 years old and you said, Mummy, my friend said that if we go home and we run a bath and we put bleach in it, then tomorrow I can look just like her. As a humble Ugandan woman, that broke her. That broke her because we weren't affirmed as kids. We weren't told you are this, you are that, you are this. It's just not in our culture. It's just not in our culture. So we weren't affirmed like that. And my parents have done an incredible job. Honestly, they're the most wonderful people. However, I just knew I was different. I remember sitting and looking in the mirror and thinking like, why do I look like this? Why can't I just look like my friends? And then people say things to you. I remember being in the lunch queue and somebody saying, what are you looking at? Bubble lips. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it was mean. And I remember feeling embarrassed because everyone laughed. And now when I look back, I think the same thing that they were making fun of me for, they're all paying to look like that now. So I'm like, okay. But at the time, it was really, really hard. So you found out very quickly that you were different. But I didn't know I was different until people highlighted how different I was. So yeah, that was really, really tricky. Integrating was... It was tough, but my parents did a really good job. They made sure that, I had the latest trainers. I had an Adidas tracksuit, a Nicholson shirt, some Burberry socks.
Wow, that tells me exactly how old you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Kappa popping trousers.
Literally. This is, they made sure that we had everything that we needed, as well as more, They worked really, really hard to make sure that we didn't stand out any more than we had to. So yeah, that was my early days.
And Basildon, when did you start seeing Basildon as a place not just to invest in, not just to live in, but to invest in? You obviously, we're going to move on to the things that you do in and around Basildon, but what I would want to get to is that the point that you realise that actually I don't just live here, I want to make this my home and I want to invest in this place.
Well, I went to school in Billericay, so secondary school. That was really, really tough because you're the minority again. And there was about 2-3 of us in school that looked like me. So there wasn't many ethnically diverse people. But I'd always say I didn't want to claim Langdon. Love Langdon. But didn't want to claim Langdon. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm from Basildon. And the turning point for me was when I had my kids. When I had my first child, he's now going to be 13. But the turning point for me was that, I need this to be a place that he has pride in living in. And if I don't make that happen for him, who will? All too often, young people that I come across, they're saying, we can't wait to get out of Basildon. And I don't want that for them. I don't want people to want to run away from the place that they're supposed to have pride in and to live in. So that's when I really, really made a conscious effort to start pouring into my community and pouring into my town. I had a performing arts school way back when, because that was my love and my passion, and I met some incredible kids from Basildon, and I thought they remind me so much of me, and I want them to love living here, and I want them to be celebrated in their community, and people seeing that this is talent that comes from our very own Basildon. So yeah, that was the turning point for me, having my children.
And your children. So you've got 4 children.
Yeah,
is that
well,
right?
I've got 5. Yeah,
You got
yeah.
5.
So yeah, I've got my 19-year-old girl, and then I've got 4 boys. So yeah.
And from your experience, how do your boys find it? Do they find it similar to the way that you did growing up, do you think? Or is it different now?
Okay, so
Because it's hard for a young black man
yes
in the world.
Yeah.
It is hard. I'm
Yeah.
very privileged as a middle class white geezer
Yeah.
to be able to just walk around and not have to worry necessarily about anything as I walk down the street.
Yeah.
But young black boys or young black men do find it hard.
Yeah, I mean, my boys are young, so we have conversations, and they understand the basics. So what racism is. I didn't think it was affecting them as much, but growing up, they'd noticed things like their hair was different. So my boys, they're mixed race, so but they had this beautiful, they had really, really long curly hair, and we wouldn't cut it because, why? Embrace it, enjoy it. That's your mane, your curls, that grows out of your head. That's you, your identity. So very soon, they wanted to cut their hair. It was actually Nate that kept his hair the longest, my eldest. But it was sad because when my eldest, he went up to secondary school, that's when, again, same school, thought things had changed. But when he went up to secondary school, that's when he started to experience racism. In primary school, it wasn't a big thing. But that's when he really, really was experiencing being different. People making jokes, people saying things like, oh, you can say black in Spanish. So using the N-word and all of that sort of stuff. And that was that's been really tough for him the last couple of years. And credit to the school, they're really, really good. They're really, really good, and they're really supportive. But that's been hard, seeing him in his safe space being, attacked really because of something that he can't help. My baby, my youngest, my 5-year-old, he's only just turned 5, and he came to me and he said, Mummy, 2 friends in my class, one's black, one's white. They both said they're from Basildon, but the white friend said, you can't be from Basildon because you're black. And I said, well, what do you make of that? And he said, well, that's racist and that's mean. And that was really hard because I think these are conversations that we shouldn't even be having with these kids at this young age. And I think, parents need to do better. Social media need to do better. The community need to do better at trying to teach these kids, how to accept people for their differences, but also celebrate them. So that's been really, really tough for us. And one thing as an interracial couple, I find for my kids is, what do they identify as? It's very interesting because my Eden, my 9-year-old, he would say that he's just as white as he is black, and he wouldn't claim either. He's mixed. Kimmy is comfortable being mixed. Now, when I say to Nate, so what are you? He's like, I'm black. And I'm like, well, that's okay. That's okay if you want to choose to claim black. But then when I ask him, why are you black? He's like, because that's what people think I am. And I think society, you're just as white as you are black, and society will tell you that because you've got that extra melanin in your skin, you're 50-50. And society will tell him that he's black and put him in that bracket, but not as a positive trait, as a negative trait. So that's really, really tough. That's really tough for me to see as a parent, that he's automatically labelled in that. And for me, I love being black. No problem with being black whatsoever. I love being me. I finally love it and I embrace it. However, the stigma and the connotations that come with being black are the adultification of black kids. So having 4 boys, one day they're going to walk down the street. They're not going to be a group of brothers. They're not going to be a group of friends. They're going to be a gang of boys. Yet these might be 4 boys, which will be 4 boys that I've sent to the shop to go and get me some milk. Now, how they, number one, intimidating, how they're a gang. They're just, they're
just your boys.
They're just my babies. And they're set up to fail by default because I gave birth to them. And that for me is really, really tough. That's really tough. And I don't know where it's going in terms of that. And I do my best to bring them up, and I do my best to make sure that they're good boys. They've got integrity, they've got morals, and all of that. But people are just going to think that they're gang-yielding, knife-carrying kids, and that's not them. That's not them, but just because of what they look like.
Just a quick one. Give me a second to tell you about the proud sponsor of the Hodcast, Site Ready Solutions. In construction, a world where time is tight and quality matters, there's no room for passengers. Site Ready Solutions are changing the game. They're not just getting people into the industry, they're getting them ready to deliver from day one. It all starts in the community, attracting local people who might never have thought of themselves being on a construction site. Then they're given real training, hands-on, hard graft, and to high standards. They're placed where they're needed the most, with the right mindset, skills, and the ability to be productive from day one. Then, importantly, they're retained through ongoing support and mentoring through progression. Because Site Ready Solutions don't just build workers, they build teams, they build trust, and they build futures. From street to site, they're helping everyday people become site-ready professionals, productive, prepared, and proud from the very first day they step on the job. Site-ready solutions, local people, real skills, day one impact. Visit sitereadysolutions.co.uk and see how they're rebuilding the future of the construction industry, one person at a time. Thanks for listening. Where do we think that comes from? Because the easy thing to say is the media, right? That is the easiest thing to say.
Right. Yeah.
And the media do tend to demonise people, and they demonise all sorts of people.
Yeah.
Black people are, specifically black men get a pretty bad rap in the media, and they get a very bad reputation in and around society.
Yeah.
And now I know that some people watching this will say, well, there's no smoke without fire. Do you know what I mean? And I don't. Where do you think that comes from?
Okay.
And I'm not trying to set you up to fail at all. I'm trying to pick at, I'm trying to do is pick at the fabric of society to really get to the crux of what it is.
Yeah.
Because I've obviously never experienced this.
Yeah.
If I went and lived in Uganda, I'm sure, in fact, I'm not even sure I would. I would understand being different because my skin colour is different. But
you'd be treated as a king.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
I've had the fortune to spend a lot of time. I spent a lot of time, as you know, in a black majority church, and I only saw it as a black majority church. They didn't see it like that. No. I was just their brother, know, and they made me feel just as welcome. So that's sort of what I'm trying to pick at and where we're trying to get to.
Okay. So, the media. You said the easy answer would be to say it's the media. And I really, really do believe it is. I think the issue is we don't see... Take, for instance, the boy that was unalived by the white man in the street as he was walking to school. What did they call him? It was something really problematic, like knife boy. Now, this is a little boy that was walking to school who was stabbed by a white man, and they called him knife boy. Now, if that was somebody else, the headlines might have portrayed that line very differently. They might have poor victim, poor this and that and the other. And I think the media has a really, really big part to play in portraying black boys as, they demonise them. And I think that is a really, really big issue that we have. Also, I'm just thinking in terms of our men and our boys. I think they're set up to fail. And I think also the reason for things, when we talk about black on black crime, it's a poverty issue. You put people in an area, you dump a load of people in an area where there's nothing but poverty. How are they not going to try and fight for the crumbs? You know, it's literally crabs in a bucket, and they're literally out here fending for their life. Of course, they're gonna go for that top spot, because what happens is us as black people, I see it in our community as well. Us as black people, there's only so much space for all of us to be up here, and then we end up dividing each other, and we end up fighting for a seat at the table, as opposed to standing united. And I think all too often, so much trauma has happened to us that we think we've just got to make it. We've just got to make it to the top. White people don't have that struggle, because they've already got a seat at the table. And that might be very controversial of me to say, but I do think that we're already on the back foot. We have to work twice as hard. My parents, for instance, they growing up, English is not their first language. They wouldn't want to be using their surname to apply for a job, because automatically it's like, no. Phoning to do appointments and things like that, or phoning to make calls. It was always me and my brother. Hi, because our accent is completely different. They were so insecure of it growing up that we already knew that wasn't for them. That wasn't for them, because they already knew that they were going to be at a disadvantage, and that's just not cool. So yeah, I kind of digressed a little bit, but in terms of back to black boys in the media and my kids, it's that adultification of the black kids. We've got an issue with the police. It's always, it's always us. Stop and search. Ask 5 white men and 5 black men how many times they've been stopped and searched. We've done that in youth before, and I said, put your hand up if you've been stopped and searched. They all just laughed at me. And I'm a bit like, what do you mean? And they all just laughed at me, because they're like, come on. And they said to me, the question is, how many times have you been stopped and searched? And that really, really hits home. So we don't have much for us, and that's where I come in, and where we have to change the narrative. We have to.
And that takes me nicely. When was the first point that you imagined Flex? Because you obviously see that there's a problem. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Is it something deeper, than just the surface? Because I say just. Racism isn't just anything. It is I've only ever been stopped and searched once. I've had a friend who was stopped and searched. We were walking next to each other, and I was stood over by a wall, and he was stopped and searched. Neither of us were carrying any weapons or anything particular, but he fitted the description of a black male.
Yeah. Imagine fitting the description of a black male and that being your crime.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the reason that I do what I do is because I worked in the youth sector. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. So after having my littlest one, I went back to work, and I just decided that this is my calling. I've got to go and work with young people. So I thought, this is going to be great. So much fun. I walked into the youth space, and they had these buzzing youth activities going on. So I was like, this is brilliant. This is definitely what I needed as a kid. And then I'm looking around me, and I'm like, so where's all the kids at that look like me? Because I needed this as a kid. Nobody looked like me. And I was like, okay.
What part was that in Basildon? What part
it was in Basildon.
That was in Basildon.
Yeah, it was in Basildon. So yeah, I worked in the youth sector in Basildon. And so I'm looking around. We've got all these amazing clubs and these amazing resources that are available to young people. but there's no kids that look like me in the building. So I was like, something needs to be done here. So I went in and I spoke to my boss and I said, look, what is going on? Like, where are the kids that also need this service? Ethnically diverse kids, black kids, where are they? And my boss kind of said to me, we are not equipped to be able to offer these services. Number one, because we don't have culturally appropriate staff, and I said, right, okay, cool. So we're going to set up a club.
I really want to get into that, because what do they see as culturally appropriate?
You've got to have a black face, haven't you? I don't know. It might be a bit problematic.
But is that... Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I was a youth worker for a long time. And not that I didn't feel equipped to work with sort of ethnic minorities, majorities, whatever you want to call it nowadays. I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't feel equipped to work with black people. I don't know the struggles, right? I don't know what it's like to be stopped and searched. I don't know what it's like to be looked at in a certain way. I don't know what it's like to be told that if you go and sit in a bath with bleach in it, then you'll be the same colour. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
So it's not that I didn't feel equipped. Like, I welcome anybody, Yeah. And maybe they would have too. But
they hadn't. They hadn't. For whatever reason, they hadn't. But they weren't against it. So, I've got to be really, really transparent that they weren't against it. They gave me their blessing to set up something, because we saw that there was a need. I think it's really, really important to have culturally sensitive staff, and the kids do need to see themselves in their trusted adults. They do, whether that's because of the same cultural background, your skin colour, or just life experiences. And this is why with what I do, so I put a lot of emphasis on black and brown kids and supporting those. But I'm also talking about kids that actually have grown up with nothing, kids that are suffering from social deprivation, because that's the one thing that brings us all together. We ain't got no money. The cost of living is doing its big ones. But even before then, the social depravity is that was the issue, So, so I set up this group. It was a slow burner for a couple of weeks. And before you knew it, we were having kids flying through the doors. But I did my work. I went up there to the food court and I said, why are you guys sitting up here? Like, don't waste your money on this. We've got mac and cheese down there. We've got jerk chicken down there. We got, brown stew chicken.
Do you know what I'm saying? If that's not cultural, then I don't know what is.
Absolutely.
Give me some jerk chicken every day of the
week. And we were I think these kids finally thought they get us, and it's somewhere that we can go and be ourselves. We can be ourselves, and we can merge our home culture with our Western culture. We're Western kids. I'm a Western kid, I'm a Basildon girl. I keep saying it, but I'm a Western kid. And it was just so nice to see so many young people pouring through the door. And I was like, where were you before? Where were you before? We ended up in our first year, 120 kids. So where were they before? Where were they? Because they definitely weren't in the spaces that I was working in. So this really evidenced a need really, really quickly for culturally appropriate and sensitive spaces. So they all poured in, and it was kind of, there was a bit of a light bulb moment for one of the young people. She looked around and I said, oh, you should come on a Friday as well. Flex was always on a Wednesday. And I said, you should come on a Friday as well. She was like, oh, yeah, I'll come. She came on a Friday. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same because, the cohort was very different. And I said to her, look around. And she looked around, and this was on a Wednesday night, on our Flex night. And she went, oh. And I said, yeah. She was like, they're all, oh. And exactly, it was so nice to see that but she didn't clock it because it was comfortable. It wasn't like, right, everyone in here is black. Everyone in here is black and brown and ethnically diverse. It was just very much a case of, it was that relief and that weight that was off of her shoulders. They're at school. They're being pitted against each other, or they're being scapegoated as the issue, the loud one, the aggressive one, the this and that. And it's really, really important that we create those spaces for these young people to not be this stereotype. I worked in a school. I had kids saying, "Miss, we're kids." Why do they not understand that we're kids? Why do they not even take notice of our tears? That was a child who came to me crying her eyes out because teacher had said, "You girls in your group, you girls in your gang." Why does she not understand why that's so offensive? So that's when I realised that I had to be an advocate for young people so that they can feel heard and that their tears and their trauma matters as well. So yeah.
In case you didn't know, in construction, trust is everything. You trust your team to show up, you trust your tools to perform, and when the pressure's on, you trust your supplier to deliver. That's where Grayson Building Products come in. They've been doing this since 1921, and they've built more than just a business. They've built relationships, expertise, and a reputation that is earned, not claimed. With over 50,000 products in stock and a team of specialists who genuinely understand the craft, Grayson is there. Not just when you order, but when things get complex. It's more than just a price. It's partnership. It's peace of mind. If you want a supplier that moves like part of your team, visit grayson.gb.com and see what real service feels like. Is there something more about that's going on in Basildon? Like, what's going on? Because it's very, you can see like a superficial, there are the things that people report on, right? Whatever is being reported, poverty and, violence and knife crime and stuff. But what's going on like under the surface that people from outside the area wouldn't necessarily understand the nuance of?
Do you know what? I don't think it's just in Basildon. I think it's across the country. It's social media. Since everybody now, it's like a faceless crime. So the keyboard warriors come out, and people are getting a lot more. I think people have always felt a certain way about difference. People don't want change. I don't like change. If I've got a plan for my day and it ends up being diverted, that throw me off. I need time to prepare, but I will adapt. That's the difference. People don't want to adapt, and people don't want to change what they've always known. And in Basildon and other places, I think the issue is people are becoming more vocal about their intolerances. I'm not like a nut allergy. I shouldn't have to be tolerated, And that's the reality of it. Why should we have to be tolerated? Tolerated is something that's not supposed to be there. And that annoys me. And us being called hard to reach communities, we're not hard to reach, we're there if you want to reach us. Do you know what I mean? So these are sort of little things that irk me. But yeah, I think definitely with social media and people being able to be a keyboard warrior and really, really say what they think. And I think with politics as well, I'm not a political girl, but people have been more comfortable since people that are higher up have voiced their concerns about not letting people in and not this and not that. I think, there was plenty of rapists and paedophiles and murderers in Britain before the foreigners came over and raping all of our kids and doing all of this stuff. Sorry, it just annoys me. But there was plenty of these crimes going on before. Now all of a sudden it's don't let them over here because they're not vetted and they're going to do this and that to our kids. Let's not even go there. I just can't. But it makes me very, very angry to think that, you're automatically chucked in that in the bin.
Do you think so? I'm gonna take it from the other side and I'm gonna pick at that a little bit.
Yeah.
do you think that it could be down to the lack of, or not just down to, but certainly down to a lack of knowledge? So people fear what they don't understand, right? And your generic white person from, let's pick Basildon, because because it makes sense. But any named place in the country, you know, even other countries. You look at America right now, you know,
Yeah.
or maybe not. But you fear what you don't understand, and if people don't understand the culture, or they don't understand why people do things a certain way, there is a fear there, you know, and that's on both sides, right? There's an unpredictability about. I feel like again, this is me paraphrasing, and it's not what I think, but just the feeling of it. I feel like I know what another white person does because I'm a white guy, right? I feel, and that's such a weird thing to even think, because everybody is different, right? But when you try and analyze it, it's sort of that's sort of the way that it washes out, right? You feel what you don't know, and you gravitate towards what you think you know, right? So if that is the mentality of a person who says, I don't want these people here because essentially they're not like me, right? That's not okay. For me personally, that's not okay. But what I've come to understand is, or try and understand is, from that type of person, it comes from a place of love, and not the love of the people on the way in, but this weird, twisted love for the people that they look after. Yeah. Does that, am I articulating myself right?
Absolutely.
What I'm not, I don't want to sort of apologise for what I'm saying, but it is a weird, twisted love of, I really love my kid, so I'm not going to let anyone else get in the way of my kid. And the easy hook to hang that on is foreigners, because I don't know them, I don't understand them, they're not from here, you know. Yeah. And it's an easy one, but it comes from this weird place, I think.
It comes from a place of passion. Now, I've said that I'm proud to be a black British person. I am proud to be from here. I love what this country has had to offer for me. And the question that you said about the fear of the unknown, but do you want to know?
And I guess that's where it comes down to, right?
Do you want to know?
Yeah. I'm an inquisitive person, so okay. I you know, if I meet someone in the street, I run a podcast, and I have conversations for a living.
Yeah. While I'm not asking you, but I'm asking people, do you want to know? And that's where we come in as Flex. So people have said to me before that, but how, this creating these spaces just for ethnically diverse people, just for black and brown and global majority people, how would my kid feel coming to a group like that? Wouldn't they feel like the minority? And while I'd like to say, well, welcome to my world, I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm going to show you how it's done. So no, they won't feel left out. They won't feel this. They won't feel that. They'll actually feel welcomed in, because I feel as though it's, sadly actually, that it's our job to show people how to integrate in the way that we always wanted to be welcomed in. It's not a case of we come over here and we don't want to adapt to a culture at all. We're doing the work to learn about British culture. The people that come over to this country, in order to become a British citizen, they have to do a test. They have to know facts that actually regular Brits don't know. So how are people going to come out here and tell me that people don't want to adapt to our culture and our way of living? If you go abroad, are you adapting to their culture, or are you going for a burger and chips?
You're looking to find the nearest. Yeah, where can I get fish and chips? Where can I get a Guinness or a pint?
Exactly, exactly. So and that might be problematic to say, because and I'm speaking about the minority here. I'm not saying that everyone in Basildon is this. I have some amazing and incredible friends from very, very different walks of life. It's a melting pot. I'm not against my town. I'm not against my town and the people that live there. I'm fortunate enough to know lots and lots of people, despite where we come from. And I think integration is really, really important. I'm not saying sell your soul and lose sight of who you are, but I do think it's really, really important that we pick up bits of everyone's culture. How can we ask people to integrate with us if we're not integrating with them? But all I'm asking is that people meet me halfway, or even I'd take 60-40 at this point, but just meet me halfway. And I think that's the way forward. I think we as Flex, we're trying to show people that there really is unity and community. We've got so many people that are from different backgrounds that are holding up our services. Look at the NHS. Take them out for 2 hours and see what happens. Send them all back home and see what happens within the space of 2 hours. It'd be a tragedy. So I just really wish people would understand that it's literally the colour of my skin, like something that I can't do anything about. And you said something earlier about my sons. Put my sons next to different people with protected characteristics, shall we say. Put me in that group as well. If I walk down the street alongside people with protected characteristics, you may not necessarily see the difference with those other people. The one thing that you'll see, though, is that I'm black, because there ain't nothing that I can do about it. And that is something that really does need to change. And I don't even like to go on and on and on and on about the race element of it, but it's definitely, there is inequality. And we can't hide around the fact that there is inequality for our young people and coming up. And I think if we don't do anything about it, might as well just give up, and we'll never make anything of our lives. And future generations, they've got and they will leave. They'll leave our town. And we don't want them to leave our town, because this is where they live and they've got every right to be there. And our parents and our parents' parents have really, really poured into these communities for the greater good for everybody. So yeah.
Well, if I came as a young person to one of your Flex groups for the first time,
yeah,
what would I see that makes it different? And what does community care look like when it's done properly?
Okay, so if you came in to our youth group, just like any other young person came into our youth group, there'd be some games on the table. I might offer you a controller and try and beat you a bit of FIFA. You would win. You play pool with us. We'd sit round the table. We'd eat together. We'd have topical discussion about things that are going on at the moment. Life is good. You might go in the recording studio, might make a beat. Just come and chat to us about your week. I might talk to you about, why was you in isolation this week? Right, okay. So what was that all about? When you come into the space, it is about family. You leave everything at the door and it's a melting pot. You might ask me about where I got my braids done. I might ask you about where you got that shirt from. It's a conversation. It's about learning about each other. What do you have on your Sunday roast? Do you have mac and cheese on your roast? I have mac and cheese on my roast. Maybe sometimes a bit of jollof. What do you have on your, it's a conversation. It's about learning about each other. You might ask me, why do you use cocoa butter? It's because I don't want ashy skin. Don't you use cocoa butter? Right, okay. Maybe you should try it. Yeah, it's a game changer. And these are conversations. These are conversations that we have. It's just the exchange. It's a beautiful exchange of different cultures and learning about each other as well. We might talk about faith. We're not a faith-based organisation, but we have lots of different faiths within within the community. So, we'll talk about it. So if somebody's, Ramadan, somebody's fasting and they don't break fast, maybe we'll all respect that. And we don't eat until 6 o'clock when they're breaking fasts, so that they can stay at youth and they're not sitting there watching us eat, It's about seeing the people in the room. It's about everybody feeling seen and heard. So yeah, that's what your experience would be like. And you'd get a really, really nice plate of food. I think the kids only come for the food, but you would get a really, really nice plate of food.
I love going. I think I told you this before when we were talking the other day, but I was I was at church, and it was it goes back to how I'm just gonna say black people, because that's what I know, right? And I hope that's okay. But I went, as I said, I went to a black majority church, and it was like they know how to do community, right? They do, because I was so welcomed, and there was like every week it seemed like there was some feast after church. And I'll never forget the first time I was at church, and there was like this like buffet, and like I don't really know what anything is, because it just don't look like food I normally eat. It's like it's just all this lovely curry. Looks like curries and rices and stews, and then there was what I thought was just like bread. And there's me, like I've just like taken all this food, but I don't really know what it is. And there's me just eating this piece of thing which I thought was bread, and they're all looking at me like, who is this guy? And I'm there like, and these things, like I'm like, this is actually not that nice on its own. And it turns out, is it sadza? Is it?
So we call it ugali.
But it's like what is it, like a bread substitute essentially? But you shouldn't really eat it on its own, right? You're supposed to dip it in it. And there's me like eating it, feeling like Shrek in like when he's at that table, and he's like,
and I bet
sipping
the aunties,
the soup, and there's Donkey like,
But I bet the aunties were sitting there thinking, right, come on, son, let me show you how it's done. And that's community. That's literally you being willing to learn about a different culture, and the aunties coming together and actually saying, right, okay. And I bet you never ate it again.
Oh, no. Why would I eat it on its own when I can dip it in all of the amazing things that you can eat it with, right?
Absolutely.
And again, like community. My wife now came with me as my girlfriend to one of the. And literally the first thing that happened was she was given a baby as she walked in the door. Sister, hold the baby.
We got things to do. Yeah, absolutely. Your family now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. Like they obviously knew me, so it wasn't just handing a baby to a stranger. Because, I mean, I suppose that would be weird. But in that setting, it probably wouldn't be weird because you're there, you know. But they knew who she was. It was obvious she was. She was the only other white person in the room. She was obviously my girlfriend at the time. But it's just like, if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah. The cultural difference is vast, but it draws you in. Like for me, it was so like welcoming and all encompassing, and that's how I feel that you are as a person, just generally. But also, I've seen you around people. And I've had the good fortune of, I mean, we only met a few days ago, but I've had the good fortune to see you in a few different places in different ways, and had, great conversations on the phone and stuff. And actually, like, you are one of the most welcoming people I've ever met, and I was in a church for a few months with a whole bunch of black people from all over East Africa, and it's just such a welcoming environment. And that seems like the sort of, because it is called the Flex community. It's not called the Flex Club or, do you know what I mean? It is the whole community. And that's, I really feel that from you. And I'm really looking forward to getting to come to one of your Flex nights.
Yeah, it's for the food, isn't it? Yeah.
But I don't care about diversity. I just want food.
Give me a plate.
For sure.
But look, I think life is very short. And I think it's really, really important that we make impact on people's lives. If me walking down the street and giving someone a smile and just saying, how was your day today, makes that life a little bit easier for them, I think it's really, really important. Nobody knows the struggles that different people are going through. We talk about mental health. We talk about, financial struggles and all of this stuff. And sometimes a smile might just be what you need to pick you up from the day. We just don't know. And I think it's really, really important that we think outside of ourselves sometimes, and we just spread a little bit of love. And it sounds really cheesy, but somebody asked me how my day is. I'm like, oh, you care, and last Christmas we did a big Christmas giveaway. So we went into the town centre and we went to lots of different families and gave them a full Christmas dinner. So it was the whole turkey, the trimmings, everything. And we gifted it to people. Nothing in exchange. So people were really confused. And there was some... You don't get something for nothing anymore, do you?
Don't.
So people are really, really confused.
Faces like...
And these huge turkeys, like why me? But why not you? Why not you? And we met some people, and you'd give them this gift, and you'd say, just have a good Christmas. It's wonderful to meet you. Have a lovely Christmas, and then you get to know them, and the impacts that had on them. There was one lady who'd lost her father, so she's spending her first Christmas alone. One woman that was a carer. There were so many amazing people. The tears that were shed that day, I don't know why these people, we saw them and started having a chat with them. There's some people that are really, really lonely out there. And I think it doesn't cost me anything to stop and have a chat with someone. I know time is valuable, but their time's just as valuable as well. So I think community, it really, really does start with not just in these groups and in these sessions, but it's being out and about in the street. Like, I will talk to the guys in electronics and see how they're doing and see how their kids are, and and I'll say hi to the Sky Man, and I'll the Kit's Haberdashery, just shouting out some of the locals, check them out. But yeah, I'll see how they're getting on, and and I just think it doesn't take much to see how your community is doing, to build those trusted relationships, so that if anyone's in any kind of trouble, or if somebody just wants to share and celebrate their milestones with you, oh Miriam, I just got this, and that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about getting to know people and celebrating their wins and being there to pick them up as well when they're not doing so good, and just being there. So yeah, that's community. That's what it's all about.
Can you share with me a time since you've started Flex when you turned up and it's just ripped your heart right wide open?
Ooh, there's been some occasions. Now, the hardest thing for me is, especially working with teenagers, so there's one individual that was in isolation for the week. And I said, why are you in isolation? Oh, because I got kicked out of my house and I haven't been able to wear a full uniform because all I've got is my shirt and my trousers. I haven't got my shoes because they're at the house. I haven't got my tie. I was like, right, so you need shoes. Right, well, let's go and get some shoes. I said, have you spoken to the school about this and told them about it? Oh, no, I'm just too embarrassed. So this child is missing out on a week of education because they are so embarrassed to actually let the school know what's going on over a pair of shoes, something that can be easily fixed by us if we had these conversations. Another girl getting in detention because she's eating a packet of sweets in the hallway and mouthing off to the teacher. Oh, well, there's just a packet of sweets there, and really, really mouthing off. I said, why are you getting a detention? Oh, because I didn't have no money and all I had is £1.20, so I just got a bag of sweets because it's all I'm going to eat for the day. These are the things that we really need to stop and see what the kids are going through. It's deeper than them just shooting their mouths off and getting defensive over stuff and being rude. There's we've had passings in our family members, and we rallied around, went to the funeral, supported a young person. We've had some stories, and we've really, really supported young people through milestones, and family members as well, parents that are just not coping. It's been tough. It's been really, really tough. Kids struggling with their mental health. At the moment, we're all talking about adolescence, That's a big talking point at the moment, adolescence and
Don't get me started on that. That winds me up.
And raising our young men to be, and work needs to be done. Gareth Southgate, he's speaking a lot right now about the work that needs to be done about young boys and not leaving them behind. And I think it's really important. Controversially, I also think, the girls have been doing their big ones and we've been doing all right. But I think whether it's boys or the people teaching boys have become complacent and taken their eye off the ball. And there's some stuff going on, and we really, really need to hone in on and support these young boys, because I don't want to see another boy go to jail. It would cost less for the government to put a child in my youth service, even me to employ them and get them on training pathways, than it would every year that they're in prison. So where's the money at? Because we're making a big impact on not very much. So I don't know. It's tragic. It's tragic.
It is difficult, the male role model, and I don't want to get too deep into this, and I don't even want to get cancelled either.
Yeah.
Because I am all for lifting up and making space for, and we've talked a little bit about this before, I'm all about lifting up and making space for people in general, especially women. But it's not a zero-sum game. It's not, it's not an either or. I don't have to lift up women and put men down and the other way round.
Yeah.
This is unpopular to say,
yeah.
But at the moment it's quite difficult. It can be quite difficult being a man. And I know that historically that is not the case at all. We're a very patriarchal we're a very patriarchal place. Men have ruled the world for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, not me rubbing my hands. Go on, keep going.
No, I know. I know. This is not a high horse that I'm getting on at all. It is. Women weren't allowed to work. Women weren't allowed to vote. Women weren't allowed to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was wrong.
Yeah.
Now there are more women going to university than there are men. There are more, and I'm so for that. It's unbelievable. I'm so for that. It's brilliant.
Get it.
What is hard is that women generally on the Venn diagram are dating right and up. So it's a difficult thing because dating isn't what it used to be either. That's why I love youth groups too, because it's where you can hone your dating skills if you want to, and get no's.
Yeah, positive relationships.
People don't hear no anymore.
Right.
People don't go for a job interview because they don't want to get a no. Right. People don't do this because they don't want to get a no.
No resilience. Yeah.
That's again goes back to your flex community building resilience. I know that's one of your sort of pillars.
We have to, yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is that because of this trend of the whole right and up, it's boys are struggling because they don't necessarily know where they fit I suppose it is because, and it's a really difficult thing to say, and I don't want to get cancelled. Men can find it difficult when there are powerful women around, and women have more power because that's not something that's historically been the case. So when something changes and there's a quite a seismic shift, it's hard to deal with, and I think that's where the sort of the downstream effects are happening, because they're rightly women are having more power, becoming more educated in more positions of power, But the downstream consequence of that is there are some men who feel put down and got at, and the whole thing about being bullied and not getting a girlfriend and sitting in their mum's attic or basement smoking weed, not getting a job, all that sort of stuff. And that's where you come in as someone who provides a space for everybody. And
it's a tricky one for me as a woman.
I'm
sure. Like, well, we had to work harder.
Exactly.
So here we are, like tough, whatever.
Yeah.
However, you can't sit up there. Right. This is where it's different. I've always said when I get up there, so this is out there, right? I'm taking people with me. Nobody is to be left behind, because that's not what it's about. It's not about leaving anybody behind and me just sitting in my castle, in my palace, just, bye guys, because you got to be careful who you stepped on the way up. And I think all too often, maybe some men on the way up, they didn't bring us up with them. So this is now why they're panicking, because they're thinking, oh crap, we got up to the top and now it's almost a pride thing. Maybe they're not trying to drag, now they're asking for a little bit of a helping hand. Is it for us women to now pull them back up again? Although we were already on the back foot. That is problematic. I hope I don't get cancelled. Don't come for me. No. But absolutely. But I mean, the issue that's going on with people not being able to accept no as an answer, and people, there's a big thing with online bullying, and I think it's tragic. It's tragic that our boys are feeling left behind and that we've taken the eye off the ball with them. You could be the best parents in the world, but we can't police our kids 24/7. We can't go into school with them. So if my child is going into school, boy, sometimes I'd like to just sit next to him and tell whoever's saying this and that, the other, I'm like, sorry, what? Right, okay, say this. I can't do that. And the internet, sadly, is raising our kids, but I can't take his devices or anything off of him, because that's not fair either. Now he's disconnected with the world. They can't just go and play out on the street anymore, because it doesn't feel safe. Whether it is safe or not, I don't know. I don't know if it's any worse than it was back in the day. But at the end of the day, we just know more now. Again, more on the media. We now know that maybe don't go down that way, or don't talk to that kind of guy and or girl or whatever. But I can't take his devices and stuff off of him, because it's not fair that I completely withdraw him from his world, and he might even get bullied even more because he's not connecting with people in a certain way. So it's a tricky one. But is it for us to raise raise boys, or is it for men to do better?
And I think that's where I've landed. There was a statistic that I read. I can't cite exactly where it is, so it's essentially irrelevant where it came from. But I definitely read it and heard it. That there was some percentage of men whose first male role model was a prison guard. One of them, it was an American statistic.
Yeah.
It was to do with black males. I don't want to guess at it, but there was a fair percentage of black males whose first male role model, good male role model, was a prison guard. That's astonishing. And you're right, men, myself included, need to do better. I've got a son. Do I want him to grow up as some, waster who, he's not going to, because I'm not going to let him. But, am I going to let him just sit and play the Xbox all day long, not doing anything, smoking weed in his bedroom, doing whatever he wants to do? Well, no, because I'm already, we've already on a trajectory where that's not going to happen. He's 4 years old. And I'm not like some super parent. I just try.
We're all faking it till we make it, aren't we?
So
Let's
true.
be real.
Yeah. Or fake it till you miss it even. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you do just whiff.
Yeah.
You try and do something and your kids are just like, nah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that program, Adolescence, it did show you that you can try your best as a parent and things will still happen. So give yourself grace. Like, I'm not here to bash my skills as a parent. Sometimes I need time out. Sometimes I'm like, them kids, they're not always my favourite people, but the love is still the same. And I think ultimately, again, it just comes back to community. It comes back to the community. But the streets are not going to raise my kids. And the streets are not going to... This is how people are falling into grooming, into gang affiliation, because we're taking our eye off them. And I'm not saying that I had... there's work to be done. I'm not saying I have all the answers and hard and fast ideas as to how we fix this. But it is a collective effort. It's a collaborative effort. And it's about building trusted relationships within our communities. People that already have seats at the table, people in some kind of power or leadership positions. It's about more representation in leadership positions. If you don't put us up there, how are these kids ever gonna see themselves if you don't put more people that look like them, that have come from the same struggles as them, up there? And give them agency and permission to dream bigger than their circumstance. I feel really, really passionate about it, that we need to really show them that they're bigger than whatever is going on at home. They're bigger than the row that their parents just had. They're bigger than their mum or their dad not turning up for them for the fourth weekend in a row. They're bigger than that. And I think it's really, really important that we show them that where they give them permission to dream,
I love this conversation. I love it. It's so I could literally go forever on this topic, and it is one that resonates with a lot of people, because everyone has been someone's son or daughter, and everyone, well, hopefully, maybe will be a parent at some point. And even if it's not to your own kids, you can definitely parent other people's kids. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
We were talking before about the fact that some of your kids just call you mum.
Yeah.
And they've got great mums.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But
it's just on a Friday night or a Wednesday night, like, your mum.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll achieve milestones and they'll let me know. They'll go to uni and they'll let me know, I'm going to uni, but I'll miss you. They'll pop back when they're home, They'll pass their driving test and we'll celebrate them, because they know that around our table they're always celebrated. And I think sometimes it's like in African culture, it's good to know that if your child doesn't act right in the street, I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna let you know, and I'm gonna make sure that kid acts right, and I think we need to do that as well. It's about supporting each other as parents as well, in raising these kids to be, how can I watch my friend's child not act right and not pull him up on it? I'm not doing that child or the parents any kind of service, by just letting that slide. I'll have a word. I'll be like, bro, what's going on? No, this is not what we do. This is not what we do. Show yourself in a better light. I'm not going to go and hand their ass to them. Do you know what I mean? It's not, that's not my place. But I think having conversations where they understand where you're coming from and you're speaking to them in a respectful manner, that they can resonate with what you're saying. And you've always got to show kids that you really understand them. I think it's really, really important that we have that conversation with them, that, like, I get it. Bruh, that would have made me angry too, And it comes from their reactions. They're valid. Your reaction to anger, your reaction to finding something funny or finding... It's so valid. It's so valid. Do not invalidate children's feelings. You can't invalidate young people's feelings, but you can steer them in the right path. You can steer them in a positive pathway. So, yeah.
That's a really hard thing, isn't it? Well, you've got a 5-year-old, just turned 5.
Yeah.
My 4-year-old, we read a book, The Colour Monster.
Yeah.
And it talks about all the different colours of the feet, like of his feelings. So so he turns around to me sometimes. He goes, "Daddy, I'm feeling so red right now."
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. And I'm like, mate, what do you feel red? What's making you feel red right now? And he said, Esther's just kicked me out of her bedroom, and that's really hard because I know that you want to spend time with her, but she really needs some time on her own right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard. But even like when you find things funny, like, you know, there's a group of kids and some woman falls over in the street, like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that if I fell over in the street, it would be funny. I wouldn't find it very funny, you know, and she probably didn't find it very funny, but that group of kids is going to find it hilarious.
Yeah.
But then when you say, kids, I get it. That's super funny, right? But that woman might actually be hurt. So do we think it's okay to sort of find the situation funny, but should we go check if she's okay?
Let's make sure she's okay.
Exactly.
And it's exactly that. It's having empathy, isn't it? Having empathy for somebody's situation. So my youngest, he gets angry and he has a tantrum and all of that stuff. And I let him get on with it for a minute. And then I'll say to him, do you want a hug? Sometimes he's not ready. And I'm like, oh, child. But when he's ready, I'll give him a hug. And then I'll say to him, actually, what he said was very hurtful to me and it made me very sad. And I think it's about teaching boys especially how to regulate their feelings. I think there's so much work done with over-policing girls. Sit with your legs crossed, be this, don't have this and that. That we don't actually raise our boys.
No.
And I think this is where things slip as well. We need to teach these boys how to be the men that we want our daughters to be with. Like, what kind of a man do you want your daughter to marry? And we need to have that in mind because we're over-policing these girls and not doing enough with the boys. And it's about showing them how to regulate their feelings. Boys, men's mental health is rife right now. You know, how is it 75% of boys and men unaliving themselves as opposed to 25% of women? That to me is wild. That is wild. And yet, what are we doing about it? So we need to be having positive conversations with them and actually showing them that it's okay to be upset. So when you said about the colour monster and all the different emotions, let's start talking about it so that when they get to 21, 30, all of these milestones as they get older as well, they can talk about their feelings and they know how to regulate their emotions. Because this whole toxic masculinity thing about, nah, man up, don't talk about your feelings, that's never going to be my boys. You keep talking to me about it. I need to know. I'd sooner have a chat with you for a good 5, 6, 7, 24 hours than wake up to some kind of a tragedy because you bottled that up.
There's some recent studies done actually about what women want.
Yeah.
And women want kind men.
Yeah.
But that's not what men think that women want.
No.
which is just baffles. I mean, that's the age-old issue.
Yeah.
What men think that women want and what women actually want and what women think that men want and what men actually want is, you know, and actually if we can harness some of that and create spaces where people can be, you know, co-inhabit a Wednesday night or a Friday night or whatever it is and learn together, regulate emotion together, become friends. It doesn't matter what colour your skin is, you know,
or what gender you are. Yeah, absolutely. I think boys and men, they've been set up to fail in the sense that, you know, you're told you need to go out, you need to get a job, you need to provide for your family, you need to do all this, you need to do all of that. And the woman is the homemaker, make everything smell nice and pretty and all of that stuff. And I think it just gets really, really kind of misconstrued. And men, we want people that are kind. I want somebody that is, my husband is the kindest guy, you know, he's like a gentle giant, you know. I know that he will defend me and I know that he'll take care of me and he's a provider. He's a provider financially for us, you know, he goes out and he works, but I don't necessarily need him to do that. You know, it's nice that he does that, it's a perk, but it doesn't make him any less of a man if he's a stay-at-home dad who's raising our sons to be men. To be these wonderful humans, to show them what a man should be. So I think, Yeah, I think just more spaces where we're actually showing people that every version of them can be wonderful. And that's what we do at Flex.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What if Basildon could be transformed in one way, right? And this is, I feel like you say you're not into politics.
Yeah.
You've got politics written all over you now. And but just because I think kindness and understanding is something we lack in the world of politics. But that caveat, if Basildon could be transformed in one way over the next decade, what would that look like to you, and how would Flex be a part of
that? Okay, transforming Basildon.
Because there's a lot going on anyway in Basildon now, right? The Westgate's coming down. There's been loads of stuff being put up and taken down.
Yeah, I just want it to be a hive of it. There's transformation that needs to be done in Basildon. I don't deny it whatsoever. And obviously that comes with investment and money. You can't do it without any finances behind us. And I definitely think just more opportunities. I want to see people being able to have opportunities to work, to build on careers. I want more entrepreneurs that actually develop in Basildon and maybe even stay in Basildon and pour into the community. More community businesses and all of that side of stuff. More property development, more therapy suites and therapeutic practices within our town, as well as designers. And I love to sew. I love shopping. I love to sew, and I love clothes and all of that, and just have it be ours, be ours. Just let it be a melting pot of, our own bit of Camden, or I don't know, just an up and coming place that's not gentrified, but it's definitely it needs to be hot and popping. I want it to be the place that everyone wants to be and that people don't want to leave. And but as for Flex, I want to build my own academy. I want to have an academy where kids get 5-star learning, and they get opportunities to be great, and they get opportunities to just be the best version of themselves, mentally and emotionally, physically and educationally as well. There are some smart kids out there if you look and you give them the opportunities. So I'd love to have this academy. I'd love to have a children's home where they have an all-round experience of just what it is to be loved on. That's Flex's journey. I don't shy away from that. The kids, they love music. A record label that's born in our very own Basildon. Stormzy in our very own Basildon. If he wants to hit up Flex, that'd be great.
He's probably got a couple of extra quid he could lend you, I imagine.
Listen, even if it ain't the money, come and see what our people are doing. Do you know what I mean? I think we've got some, and you know what? That's what it all boils down to as well. We've got some amazing talented, wonderful people, not just in the performing arts world, but that are really, really savvy, and really, really, okay, so you're shotting weed and you've got to grow. Well, let's turn you into a business person, horticultural skills, farmers, right? Okay, you know how to do this and that. Let's make a business out of it. Something that's actually not going to get you arrested, that's not going to get you in that exclusion to prison pipeline. But yeah, just there can be some great young people. If they're given opportunities, they could put us on the map. And they can actually show people that good things come from this place that has actually been tarred and tarnished with a bad reputation. But yeah, investment from our government, from investment of people, their time as well. The community. It doesn't cost much to go round and let's get some litter pickers, get some black sacks. We do pay it forward with our young people. You do a good deed, so we'll go to the park, we'll fill up a load of black sacks with rubbish, and then we'll go and do a treat day. So we'll go and sit down and have dinner at a restaurant together. We'll go laser tag. We took them to Toca Social around the winter time. But we do good deeds, and it's them showing them that social risk, you know, that active citizenship, you know, and it's showing them that just like when you go for a job, you work your job, you get paid. So you pour into the community. It's the nicest space for everyone to live in. We'll pay you something that you want to do, and they decide on the things that they want to do. So, I just think there's so much that can be done. And my problem is I want to do it all. I want to save the world, but I'm starting with my world and it's just letting it ripple
inch
out.
by inch, yeah.
Absolutely. Each one teach one.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be contagious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if some people want to find out what you do and where you do, how do they do that?
Okay, so we have a website. So it's www.flexyouth.com. That kind of, we've got all the information of who we are, what we stand for and things like that on there. We have Instagram, so flex.cic on Instagram. We do have a Facebook, which is the same handle. We're trying our hand at TikTok. Again, same. But yeah, and you can find us in Basildon. Our council have been incredible. I can't actually fault our council. They've been really, really supportive with projects that we want to do as well. And yeah, we're all over the place. We're all over the place. We're at Basildon Sporting Village every Friday evening as well, doing activities over there. So we're taking the youth centres into the Sporting Village. So it's going to be really, really good. So yeah, but you'll find us and you'll start hearing more about us because I'll start speaking more.
Well, and so finally, if you could have anyone or watch or listen to anyone on this podcast, selfishly, who would you want to have on here and why?
Ooh. I love the girls from the Receipts podcast. They're incredible. Shout out to Tolly and Audrey. So the Receipts podcast, they really do their big ones. I think they're really, really inspirational to young women and girls, and us older women as well, because they kind of spit facts and they give us so much that we can draw on experiences. Again, it's that relatable experience. My good sis Melissa Wardrobe, who's actually Stormzy, I'm fangirling, it's so bad, but Stormzy's stylist, she's just incredible. She is a trailblazer. She is literally showing us girls and us women how it's done. So they would be my two podcasts that I do listen to and that I would have on. I think they're my ones. That's about it, I think. Yeah.